Welcome. Are you sitting comfortably? Are you focused and not thinking about whatever's bothering you these days? I'm not here to test you. Please relax. Let your thoughts come and go and listen as they fade away in the distance. For better or for worse, this is where your life has brought you. Looking at a screen, listening to me. Imagine for a moment that you've just had a child. It's healthy, but unfortunately also completely blind. For their whole life, they will live in the dark and not see a thing. Their perception of reality is something that you might never be able to comprehend. How would you describe the world to them? What can't be touched or heard, smelled or tasted? How would you describe sunlight? By what it does? Or how it feels on their skin? I think I'd play them this piece of music. First composed by Tchaikovsky in 1878, these rays of light have traveled through decade after decade, finally reaching your ears this very moment. You have also traveled far to get here today, but you're only passing through and should probably get going. While you're here, I'd like to tell you a story. It all happened to me
when I was young, walking in a forest much like you are. Those were days filled with boundaries and rules, of no running in the hallways, don't do this or that or the other. With my world full of fierce discipline, I walked the forest to breathe.
One day, deep in the woods, I found a funny-looking tree, crooked, old, and wrinkly. With little work, a few bits of bark became huge ships. Calm creeks turned to the ocean.
I can still recall the people I imagined dragged downstream with a sense of guilt.
As I gazed back upon the old tree, I noticed something peculiar. It was crying, every crumple, like eyes closed tightly. Clear drops streaming silently down its wrinkly skin. So I did, as children do, tasted it.
Not because it looked tasty, but to figure out what it was.
The first drop made my tongue tingle. The second made it prickle. And the very moment the third landed on my tongue,
A profound sensation spread through my chest.
undefinable, like thirst, both vague and specific. One thing was clear.
Something was changing within me.
I remember breathing in
And out.
Feeding the fire.
slight prickle in my fingertips. I studied them closely, discovering circular ridges in the foreign landscape of my skin. The prickling soon slipped my attention. Every other week until it returned, a wave of gentle needles moving
Over my skin. A limb falling asleep, perhaps? I did not start worrying until it returned for the third time, first making its way up my neck, before engulfing my skull.
Completely from behind. I could even feel the tiny needles covering my eyeballs.
But it did not stop there. I held my breath as the small thorns crawled around my lips before spreading into my lungs and stomach. My awareness spread with it, and I remember the strangest sensation of my mushy dinner in there.
As if I held its remains in the palm of my hand.
Suddenly, my body took control
And opened my mouth, an explosion of air rushing into my lungs. The tingling spread with it through an endless web of veins, soon reaching my beating heart. For a moment, I stood in awe of the activity
within my body.
I felt my heart beating faster and my skin sweating. Your body is your
only vessel in this world. And when it
Misbehaves. The claustrophobia is total. Seek help.
I thought,
and at that very moment,
the tingling needles shot from my brain down through my spine.
I felt them scatter through my upper leg, where muscles contracted to lift my knee.
My body weight shifted forward, and a shockwave spread
from the foot
So,
as it landed softly on the ground. The process repeated itself
in greater detail for every step.
I was overwhelmed, but my body kept moving. I do not at all feel like the boss giving directions. It all happened automatically, and I was simply alone for the ride. Like you.
The doctor's office was cold and white. Crossing the floor
Felt like a polar expedition.
my pale, distant features of the landscape.
I wanted to explain, but was unable.
my lips and tongue engaged in an intricate choreography.
Myself in the audience, observing the words performed.
My lips muttered, "I'm sure it will pass," while my thoughts were crying for help.
conversation kept going, but I stopped paying attention.
Instead, I was following the hands of a clock mounted on the doctor's wall.
They were both speeding up
and slowing down.
I was slipping further and further away.
A levitating camera in a video game, merging with the code it was running on.
Again, with the binary, with the electronic circuit, and so on.
I closed my eyes and let my
Sensations lead me.
First, I spent some time with my bones. Among their many functions, I got lost in their continuous breathing.
An uninterrupted flow of calcium absorbed
And released. Even the skeleton was alive and
living in and of itself. I could feel my mind clinging to the known,
to the clattering
thoughts, the buzzing of memories and fear of the future. But for each breath, tension was released, and my shoulders sunk comfortably.
It had certainly felt like I was in there, somewhere behind my face, but I was nowhere to be found. And the more I looked,
the more hazy I became.
When my eyelids eventually opened, they felt as slow as a sunrise.
Photons converted to neural signals shooting along the optic nerve, each carrying
a piece of information into the darkness.
The brain categorized motion, color, ages.
I sat for a moment in the dust, watching the sunrise.
When the world eventually lit up,
I was no longer wondering why matter lights up from the inside.
my experience had changed from the fire to the light.
But it would get much stranger.
Stretched, I started daydreaming. Or so I thought.
It began as a shimmering field, creeping slowly in
from the periphery of my vision, the hands of the clock
Still moving, but among them vague